All right, let's talk about power companies. Now, I know what you might be thinking. Maybe not the most exciting topic. But what if I told you about one that operates on the very edge of civilization? A company with a mission as huge and as tough as the land it serves. That's what we're diving into today.
So, let's start with a number, 43%. What do you think that is? Well, believe it or not, that's the slice of Pakistan's total land area covered by just one electricity company. Yeah, 43%. Let that sink in for a second. We're talking about a massive, massive territory. But you know that incredible scale? That's really only half the story here.
Because here's where it gets really interesting. Here's the paradox. This company, the one covering all that land, is by far the biggest in Pakistan geographically, but it has the smallest number of customers. So how on earth can you be the biggest and the smallest at the exact same time? It sounds impossible, right? Well, let's dig in and unpack this.
Okay, so to figure this out, we need to get to know the company at the heart of it all, the QESCO Electric Supply Company, or as it's known, QESCO. And trust me, its story is filled with some truly unique challenges. This is about so much more than just, flipping a switch and keeping the lights on.
So on paper, QESCO's job seems pretty straightforward. It's a government-owned public utility, and its responsibility is to provide electricity to the entire province of Balochistan. Simple enough, right? Well, as we're about to find out, there is absolutely nothing simple about operating there.
All right, the real key to cracking this whole paradox is understanding a specific concept, and that is the idea of a frontier utility. Now, this is not your typical neighborhood power company, not by a long shot. Its environment, the very land it operates on, defines, well, everything about it.
So, what exactly is a frontier utility? Well, think of it like an energy provider that's right out there on the front lines. It's working in these huge, geographically challenging, and really sparsely populated regions. And the work they do, it's not just important, it's absolutely crucial, not just for the people who live there, but for the whole country's security and development.
And when we say the challenges are immense, we're not kidding. QESCO has to string power lines across these vast, empty deserts and navigate them through incredibly rugged mountain ranges. We're talking about places like the Sulayman and Central Brahwi ranges. They're serving a population that's spread out, often nomadic even, and all of that gives them the lowest consumer density in all of Pakistan. See? That geography is a perfect explanation for the paradox. The biggest area, but the fewest customers.
But this story isn't just about the where, it's also about the when. It's not just geography, it's deep-seated history. The roots of this company go back more than 100 years, way before the QESCO we know today was even a thing.
It's pretty wild, actually. The first little flickers of electricity in this area showed up way back in 1891, and it was just to power a British military college. Then, in 1928, it became a private company. Fast forward all the way to 1998, and after some big national reforms, it gets reborn as the public utility QESCO. And now, in the 2020s, the focus is all on modernization, trying to bring things like smart grids and digital billing to this incredibly remote landscape.
So, all that history has put QESCO right at the center of some of Pakistan's most important, most strategic projects today. You can honestly argue that its role right now is more critical than it has ever been. I mean, just think about what's relying on QESCO's power grid. It's literally the energy backbone for the massive China-Pakistan Economic Corridor, or CPEC. It powers the super-strategic Gwadar port. It's fueling huge mining projects like Reko Diq. On top of all that, it's running the agricultural tube walls that are essential for the region's famous fruit orchards, and it's supporting critical national defense installations. It's a huge deal. And of course, they're not doing this all on their own. QESCO works with a lot of international partners, the World Bank, the Asian Development Bank, USAID, for things like funding and technical training. But just as important, they collaborate really closely with the Pakistan Army and the Frontier Corps. Why? To secure all those transmission lines and all that expensive equipment in areas that can be pretty remote and sometimes pretty volatile.
So, when you start to put all these pieces together, the deep history, the challenging geography, the massive strategic importance, you really start to see the incredible legacy that this one frontier utility has built.
And really, this gets to the heart of its impact. By bringing reliable electricity to some of the most remote corners of the country, QESCO has basically acted as this powerful engine for change. It's helped parts of Balochistan literally transition from a traditional pastoral society into a region with brand new emerging industrial hubs. Their official motto is service with sincerity, and I think that really captures the spirit of their whole mission.
It sounds simple, right? But for a frontier utility operating in an environment that is so demanding, that simple phrase represents a really powerful commitment.
And that brings us to the big, final question, doesn't it? Balochistan's role in global trade and resource development is only getting bigger. That means the demands on its power grid are just going to get more and more intense. So can this historic frontier utility evolve fast enough to power that future? Honestly, answering that challenge is what's going to define the next chapter of this incredible story.